Hello, everyone, and welcome to the flagship podcast of TNF Talks, our weekly catch up on all things nerdy, whether your bag is TCGs, vintage game collecting, or just heated debates about the greatest games of all time. This week, we are going to talk through real life, our thoughts on the state of the Pokemon trading card game right now. Ross will walk us through the recent Gamescom's announcements, and we will play our first game of Blind Mates with Saunders. We'll round the podcast out with the biggest bracket on the internet where we decide the greatest game of all time. Without further ado, let's go.
Football can be a cruel mistress, but I think it was cruel at 2-0, and when it got to 6, I think at that point, I think everyone just collectively had to bust out laughing because it was easier than having to deal with the reality that once again my team are a nonsense. But that's not anything new to me, I guess.
Nice. We are also joined by the host of our other podcast, Mr. Saunders. How are you?
Aye, I'm not bad. I'm actually looking forward to this. I feel as though a lot of the time, last few months, we don't talk about this stuff because we're actively trying to save it for videos. So I'm interested just to shoot the shit for a wee while and see what happens.
Yep, me too. So let's just start shooting some shit. We'll talk about the Pokemon trading card game. We are in a bit of an interesting position on this podcast when it comes to Pokemon TCG because the three of us all collect slightly differently, which is really nice. So we'll start with a look at Modern, and then we'll come to Ross, who is our vintage collector of the Pokemon trading card game. Saunders, Whatnot, you are possibly Mr. Whatnot. I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but give me your thoughts on Pokemon trading card game right now.
This is a tough one, and it's such a tough debate that it has actually basically spun off what was the vlog I was recording on Monday into a totally separate video of what I'm collecting and why. I'm really struggling with it, and I have done for the last few weeks, pretty much ever since I come back from my holiday. And I think the reason is I just don't see the enjoyment in it. I've got my binders there. I've got the 3 master sets I've been working on, which is 151 Surge and Sparks and Temporal Forces. And the obvious thing is, apart from Temporal, getting a Hodder sealed for the other two is very, very difficult. Particularly 151, because it feels like the only place to get it even close to what MSRP would be is on Whatnot, and at that point you're at the mercy of whatever packs have been broken. So I enjoyed it for a few months, and maybe it was because I had a wee break when I was on holiday, and I come back and I was like, I want to keep going with these master sets, but I can't possibly chase. Literally chasing the dragon. There's nothing at the end. It's impossible to get a hold of cards, and arguably the worst thing Daz is that when it comes to the big cards, they're coming straight out of packs and going straight for grading. So from a binder perspective, getting a hold of any SIRs is now impossible.
I totally agree. We're in a really strange position with the trading card game right now because you would think that product is harder to get a hold of at launch, and then after the initial hard launch, it becomes easier to get your hand on product, when in actual fact your best chance of getting a hold of anything is probably in that initial first week when there's so much of it available that you can get lucky and try and get some product. I'm kind of similar to yourself. I had master sets on the go for Stellar Crown, Surge and Sparks, a couple of Japanese sets, 151, which I really would like to finish, but I just cannot justify paying the prices, especially for Japanese product. You're right. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. We all fall into this trap where I have opened very little of black and white and was lucky enough to pull a black and white rare, and it went straight to ace grading to be put into a slab. So, and it looked beautiful in its slab. And the same goes for the mega sets that have recently come out in Japan. Managed to pull the Gardevoir, and it too will be making its way to ace grading very soon. So it's a really, really interesting situation we find ourselves in. We have issues getting a hold of product, so I don't know how you feel, Ross, trying to collect vintage sets, because if you want to buy product, you are spending some serious moolah.
Yeah. I must admit, I've been okay so far. Like, obviously, Gem and I still have a bit of Stellar Crown, and we flirted with the idea of 151, which certainly for used to's benefit, Smiths have mini tins in stock on Saturday. They only could do 2 per person. This is obviously at time we're recording on the 27th. So just putting that out there into the ether, I think it's a tenner, 11 quid. So we're kind of interested in that. But yeah, outside of that, Gemma's just kind of left me to just kind of do whatever. If we get packs, and we'll rip them, like she pulled the Articuno from
Nice.
Johnny together the other day, which was quite cool. But then in terms of that, yeah, it's been just left to me. So like I've kind of focused on the first run. So what, base, fossil, jungle, rocket, base 2, which, and even then base set 2 I've been kind of deliberately ignoring, and it's been okay. There are people out there is the odd whatnot seller that are actually okay for the commons and uncommons at good and reasonable nick. And then I just keep my eye out for whenever I see something on like 1 or 2 sort of quite reliable people that Editor Craig has put me onto through Instagram that have the good stuff. But you're right, I ain't cheap. I do not look forward to the day where my base set is looking pretty complete and I have like the Blastoise and I have the Charizard, even unlimited to get. That's not going to be fun. But at least I'm buying something that, I mean, God, what will that be at that point? 24 years, 25 years minimum year old. I can just about deal with it. But I just kind of went that way as well because it was so tough. And I've got so many binders in there of like half full sets of random ones that I was like, no, this needs to stop because I can't stop buying these. So I get it. It's not easy. It's not an easy scene out there at all.
Yeah. I think we're all coming to the same conclusion with Pokemon TCG right now, in that master setting is either impossible or incredibly frustrating. I have given up on master setting everything except from Japanese 151 because it is my favourite set and I will finish it at some point. I'm purging all other sets. They are going. Editor Craig has just sold like 3,000 cards of bulk.
Yeah.
He is purging his Pokemon collection as well. He also got a terrible deal out of that at just about 2 pence per card, which is on average, which is just madness. I'm still going to collect my box set and decide that is my favourite Pokemon, but I'm not giving up on collecting in the Pokemon TCG. I would like to still have a toe in it, and I have decided that I am going to do a Gigabinder, just one of every Pokemon, and just upgrade it as and when I can.
I like it.
Keeps me in touch with the TCG because I do like the cards, I like the sets. There will be stuff that takes my fancy, but yeah, I think a lot of people are coming to the same conclusion that just the Pokemon TCG's becoming quite a toxic environment with TikTok Live, whatnot, etc. Just driving the prices up and making it impossible to get your hands on product. I suppose my last question for you, Saunders, is: are you going to finish any of these sets? Are you going to purge them? Are you going to do something different?
I'm not going to purge them because there's enough money in them that would be pointless. I think, surprisingly, 151, I'll get there eventually, but it's probably in the back burner. Surge and Sparks, I'm more hopeful of that, but I did notice Forgotten Worlds last week when we were in, and I know we'll touch on that because we've got a wee evening out planned tomorrow. They were selling at MSRP, but they were limiting to 3. And know that I'm being greedy, but 3's not enough. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way of like I've got half the set roughly. Buying 3's pointless.
Smith said the same with Johnny together as well. Like they won't let you, I think, 5, which to be fair, that's a little better, but
Temporo, to be fair, Forgotten Worlds had 1 box, and I know they won't have the same distro as Smiths will have. So I'm never ever going to criticise a store selling at MSRP and say, oh, for a limit, versus a couple other shops where I have seen 151 sitting as high as £18 for shops that do have distribution access.
Yikes.
But Temporo I'll complete because the prices have actually dropped. It's probably the only set that have massively nosedived. So even some of the illustration rails, etc., are 40, 50 quid cards down to 25, which, okay, I don't mind that. And you can get the packs. It's almost a bit of it's not an overly popular set, but I actually do like it. The obvious thing being for us is 151 has a hell of an amount of nostalgia, and I think we're all fully expecting a 251 probably in the next couple of years, which is going to make things even worse for us.
Yeah, that will absolutely cripple me. And if they do bring out the Johto set, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do, because I will have to master set it. It's the greatest generation of all time, and that is a conversation for another podcast, because I do not want to go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, we'll keep updated on our collections throughout these episodes at TNF Talks. I'm really intrigued to see how Ross lives for the 4 weeks following buying that Charizard and Blastoise, living on some serious breadline stuff. So
his wife's a doctor.
do you know what? You're absolutely right, Ross. If you could sort me out a few boxes of Japanese 151, that would be fantastic.
I'm sure we can speak to the good lady and see what she can do.
We can write it off as a business expense. Okay, this is something I'm really interested in. I have, in my real life, started a new job recently, so I have been totally out of the loop with all things console gaming, PC gaming. I have no idea what is going on in the world of games right now, other than Ninja Gaiden 4 is on its way, and I cannot wait. So Ross, I'm going to hand it over to you. You are the gaming expert of this channel. You have a and this is not an insult, you have a nose for vintage games and game collecting, not a pop at the size of your nose.
It's a good start,
Ross, talk us through Gamescom. Talk us through what's come out of it, what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, so I very much focused on the Xbox side, because it did seem like Xbox really did sort of take the bull by the horns, so to speak. They've been doing it recently, certainly with the death of E3 all those years ago. There was a void being left, and Xbox did really just look at Gamescom and went, well, why not just that? So they actually had like 2 days worth of stuff. I didn't get to see much live due to having to work, but I've certainly caught up with most of what was shown. So this was on the 20th and 21st of August, where they basically had a live stream for a few hours each day and went, here's a bunch of cool stuff. I know Saunders and I spoke about on the Wednesday the Rogue Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X, their handheld offerings, do actually look like really, really good bits of kit. But Jesus Christ, the X is like $800, which is really £800. A very powerful bit of kit. The UI and the UX around how you navigate that in and out the games, like, credit to them if it works as well as it looked in the live demos, which also credit, they did all that live, which is terrifying, and it worked. I'm really interested to see how that impacts on the space, because the Steam Deck has its place. There are 1 or 2 other competitors that are okay. You obviously have ones like the PlayStation Portal, which is very tied to, I have a PS5 and I'm connected to it wirelessly. This thing is like a Steam Deck in that it is genuinely a PC. It just has a hack of Windows on it, but it's still a Windows machine, so you can just kind of do whatever you want. So I know that Saunders joked about buying one. I'm fascinated to see if he ever ends up.
Yeah, that wasn't a joke. That wasn't a joke. I can already see him trolling Whatnot streams for a giveaway. I can already see it.
But like, in terms of hardware, that was really cool. They showed off obviously the usual kind of stuff. Obviously they own, or Activision's all under that banner. So yeah, I had like the World of Warcraft expansion. They showed off Black Ops 7, which looked okay. Omni Movement, a thing of the past, it looks like. Omni Movement's been put to one side, which I actually kind of, I'm a little bit sad about that. I actually quite liked Omni Movement.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was alright, but it looked like they've kind of went for a fusion of last year's Black Ops and Black Ops 2. That's how I've seen one journalist describe it in terms of how it plays and how it looks, which, I say this every year, might be interesting. It's on Game Pass, so we're all going to play it. We're all going to at least play it for half an hour, get frustrated at it, and never play it again, because that's what happens. That's what we do. And then obviously they showed off Final Fantasy VII Remake and Intergrade, which does make me want to actually go back to the start one day. This was all just a Wednesday. This is the crazy thing. Like, there was a heck of a lot they jammed in. I don't know if you guys saw anything across the Wednesday or the Thursday that jumped out in particular for me. My personal highlight was Outer Worlds 2 on the Thursday because I loved the first one. The companions thing that they showed, that what made the first one so good was the actual characters around you. They look really cool, really interesting, and I love that kind of humour. So it's right up my alley. I'd be interested to see if you guys had saw anything that, kind of piqued your interest a little bit, if you've seen much.
I don't know about you, Saunders. I saw the graphic you put in the Discord, and that is it, Ross. So I know literally nothing about what's coming. Saunders, anything stand out to you?
The only thing I was interested in at all was the Rogue Ally. And even then, I'm intrigued to see if it plays a part in the next gen. If Microsoft even think about something like the Switch on their side of things. Because the only reason, we know historically, the only reason they bought Mixer was access to the knowledge of how to stream, how to manage servers for streaming, which ultimately led to shutting it down so they could try and build cloud gaming. So, is this partnership, is it about having a handheld, or is it something else that's going to come?
Yeah, it could well easily be the trial for not probably the next console, because it's probably too late in the game, but, your 2030s, what does gaming look like? This is maybe their easy way in, knowing that you just have to partner with Asus and just give them an OS, give them some money, and see what happens. I think the base model might do okay. It's not a too bad price point. Specs are pretty good. It might be okay. I think the X is a hard sell, a really hard sell for people.
I think the interesting thing was, Ross, and I'm only speaking from my side of things on this, right? I always feel there's a difference between a handheld and a console in terms of what games you play and how you play it. Like, I couldn't see me sitting down and playing a Call of Duty, a shooter, a game like that on a handheld. I feel as though I'd sit and play and go, no, I'd rather play this on my monitors with the console. In the same way that handheld, and again, obviously, there's a slight bias towards Nintendo, but pretty much if it's a handheld, I'm playing Pokemon on it, and probably not much else. And I just wonder, is it like, they're going to try and come out with something on Game Pass that is a handheld section? What we traditionally consider to be a handheld level of game. To me, there's a difference. I don't know what you guys think, but we wouldn't. Basically put it as right. So, with most of us, I don't know if you've got a Switch, Daz. At the moment, you do. You do.
I do. Yeah.
We've all got a Switch. We've all got a console. There's certain games that, even if it's out in the Switch and the Xbox, we're buying on the Xbox because it should be played on a monitor with proper controller and headset. And there's obviously the Nintendo first party games you can't. So I'd be interested if Xbox or Microsoft try and do something in that vein, because it's a really hard sell to charge. It's going to be double what the Switch 2 is, realistically. It's very close to double. So that's the hard sell for me. Especially when you can pick up a Switch for 150 quid at CX and have a reasonable amount of fun.
Even then, like the Switch 2, you can get that in a game for $430, which I know that's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's cheaper than this bit of kit. I dare say.
Yeah, I do think you're right, Saunders. I think it's going to be a lot harder to sell it to our generation, and trying to convince people to go and play massive games that you would historically have played on a console or even on your PC, on a handheld device. Like, for those who don't know, I am a huge fan of the Final Fantasy games. Could I sit and play it handheld? I could force myself to do it because I love the series so much, but it wouldn't feel right to me. And I do feel like certain games have their own place. It's the same thing, like, Ross, I know you've played Pokemon games on emulators, etc. Online. I can't do it. It doesn't feel right to me. Whether it's mobile or even desktop, it doesn't feel like I'm playing the game properly. I'm with you, Saunders. I think it's a really interesting. The price point's huge. Whether or not there's movement on that, the closer we get to release, and they get an appetite for how likely they are to actually move units at that price, because people will ultimately buy it at that price because it's new and shiny, and that's the world we live in. But it's interesting to see how their sales go beyond the initial launch.
It looks like the rumoured claims for the prices are for the base models $550, and the X is apparently rumoured to be $900.
That is just insane.
Just deep. I do think you do raise some valid points. Like I've dabbled in a few things. Obviously, I played the Pokemon Online, and before we sold the Steam Deck, we got it hacked onto there. And by hacked, I mean there's just a really, really specific set of instructions you need to follow to get the thing to work on the Linux side of it. But when it does work, it actually works pretty well. It was okay. I'll have an audience. Like I know that certainly when it came to Gemma wanted to play Skyrim, but Gemma hates playing like any console thing on a TV. Doesn't like it. Like it's not like she can't see. She's just like, I don't like doing it. But she put like 130, 140 hours into Skyrim on the Switch. She put like 60 or 70 hours into Hogwarts Legacy on the Steam Deck. So it's like there is that weird thing. But then when I had good internet, I used a way to get the Xbox sharing to work, where you can do the cloud gaming on the Steam Deck using like a third party thing, and played Call of Duty on it one night, and it does feel weird. Like I was complete garbage, like worse than usual, just because it was wrong. Even though I could sit like this, it just
I've played a few games of Fortnite on handheld before, and I just felt really weird. It wasn't for me. So it is an interesting one. What's the release date for those, Ross?
So I don't believe. Is it end of September? I feel like it's kind of close. I'm sure they initially said October 16th. Okay, that's not too far away. That's
on our Halloween. On our Halloween TNF Talks, Saunders can talk us through his thoughts on what it's like because he will own one. So he can take us through that. And I'm sure he'll be able to share his eBay listing when he's reselling it because he doesn't like it.
I know that certainly when the PlayStation VR first came out, the very first one, they used to do the like demo things. I remember going to the one in Buchanan Galleries years ago to try it out for the first time. I do wonder if Microsoft would be tempted to do something for this.
I think they have to.
I think I was at that, Ross. Was it Resident Evil that they used as one of the games for the trial?
I can't remember. I think the one I played was Gran Turismo, which in fairness, with a full steering setup, was actually kind of cool. And that was the base model at that time. It was pretty neat. I didn't hate it.
Nice. That is pretty cool. What else you got for us for Gamescom, Ross?
I guess the other sort of main things, I know that our editor Craig was interested to see how this looked like. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater was shown off and is now out, I believe. Basically a shot-for-shot remake of Snake Eater, just spruced up with a little bit of graphics. They've pretty much not changed anything, but it's causing a little bit of controversy because this is like a $70 game or £60 game to buy when it is literally the same game with no real changes to gameplay, which, ultimately that's what MGS fans would want, I would imagine. But full price, I think that stung a little bit. I don't think people were too happy with that. It is on my never-ending backlog is to play through the collection on PS3 or PS5, so I can actually get involved. I think I've even got the PS3 collection, so it's got that PSP port. Still haven't played it. I think the last one there was a FF Tactics. The Ivalice Chronicles was shown off as well. Looked kind of interesting. That's also on my list, but I want to own them all, it won't be pricey, but there's about 23 games or something stupid like that, so that will end up costing a few quid. But those are the things that certainly jumped out for me. It looked like in the next year or so there could be a lot of really, really cool things to play from Xbox because they own about 40% of the market now through various subsidiaries. That it's an interesting time. I think it's an interesting couple of years, and that's before you even touch into the big scary behemoth next year that everyone's trying to forget is happening if you're trying to release a game, which is GTA 6. So
well, I mean, asterisk beside next year, 2028 probably is more akin to what we're likely to get.
To delay that again, I really don't think they can.
I dread to think that the development budget is for that. Just remaster one of the other ones and sell us that for £30 until it's ready. That's what that's
the last thing they did.
MO.
It was really bad.
Yeah, that remaster trilogy was awful. It really, really was awful. which was a real shame. But yeah, that Gamescom, I now know a little bit more about it. There's some real points of interest. I cannot wait to hear the review on the tech. Probably more from you two. The tech is not my bag. I am more interested in playing new installments of my favourite games. So Final Fantasy, Ninja Gaiden, all that kind of stuff. I cannot wait to run it back. I'm now going to take us to our first shameless plug on TNF Talks, and I'm going to plug our very own podcast that we run. Saunders is our gracious host of The Golden Shovel, and I will not repeat his opening phrase. It will seem weird. It will be almost like stealing a finisher. So I'll pass you over to Saunders. He'll tell you a little bit about The Golden Shovel.
The Golden Shovel is our weekly WWE storytelling podcast where every Tuesday night we sit down, look back at Raw and SmackDown and any PLEs for the week before and break down the booking, both the highs, the lows, and ultimately we award the Golden Shovel each week to the booking decision that leaves us scratching our heads. And in the last couple of weeks we've also launched a Saturday morning mini podcast company where we look back at some sort of previous nostalgic topic and usually go head to head with a mediator who decides the ultimate winner for that week. So the first week, we debated the best PLAs outside the Big Four. In week 2, Daz and I predicted and fantasy booked next year's Hall of Fame ceremony. And just last night from a recording point of view and coming out tomorrow morning, Daz and Ross went head to head on 6 things we'd like to bring back. Yep. Golden Shovel Wrestling Podcast available on YouTube, on its own channel, and everywhere you get your audio podcasts.
Wonderful. Seamless. It's like you've been doing it your whole life. And Saunders, I am not finished with you. This is really intriguing to me. Saunders pitched the idea about 45 minutes prior to recording our flagship podcast that he wants to drop a blind segment. So, for his petulance, I have now made it a recurring weekly segment that he's now going to have to come up with something every single week. And I've also named it Blind Mates. Over to you, Saunders.
So it's actually interesting you brought it up right now because it does segue straight in from last night's recording of the Saturday Squash. And that is the fact that we love nostalgia at TNF and TGS. We just love things that remind us of our childhood. And about 3 hours ago, I was carting bags of DVDs up the stairs from the garage after finally emptying my storage unit at the weekend. And we've done segments on TikTok and shorts, and we did Ross recorded a video with Craig and ended up binning it off on the downfall, essentially, of game and high street retailers and gaming. But I'm going to need the 3 of us to cast our minds back to Blockbuster. Right?
Oh, and nice.
And that is the reaction I was expecting, because when I was carting these bags up the stairs, I caught the glimpse, and basically every Friday after work, I drive over to Irvine, jump into Blockbuster, and usually buy, they used to sell rental copies of DVDs, like all scratched the fuck, but still worked, and you get them for like £1 or £2, and you could just stock up on the most random DVDs. And I just thought it would be something. It's not like a blind spot. Now you have something I have to come up with something every week now for this segment.
Yes,
however,
you do.
I just think from a nostalgia point of view, do people sleep on how good Blockbuster actually was, especially in the UK? You had second-hand DVDs, second-hand games, you had midnight launches, and for us, it was retail parts. It wasn't shopping centre, so you could get parked outside the door. And obviously, from our perspective, you drive over, you get up your stuff for the night, you grab your popcorn, your ice cream at Blockbuster, you jump into McDonald's for your Big Mac, head back down the road, weekend sorted. So I just think there's one thing people forget in this day and age is Blockbuster is so underrated, and I think it needs to come back. I think Blockbuster now would do better than it did 15 years ago.
So I have lots to say about this topic, but I would be remiss if I did not point out to our wonderful viewers that you said something really, really funny as you opened this segment, and you said every Friday after work. I'd like to point out when Blockbuster were at its peak, Ross and I were only young pups, and we were not working at the time. Saunders is a few years our senior, for anyone who couldn't guess. But yeah, do you know something? See, when Netflix, etc., really came to the forefront of streaming, I was all for it. I thought this is great. Now I am in total agreement with you that they've gone too far. To use one of Ross's phrases, I feel like I'm now becoming the old man who yells at clouds, because there's so many different streaming options that it costs so much money to just watch the things that you want to watch. And I'm with you. So like, Ed or Craig and I, we try and do cinema trips, etc., to try and hold on to a bit of our youth, and we try and do that as often as we can. But just not being able to just go, right, this movie came out 3 months ago, I've not seen it. Instead of trying to find it online or loading it up to hear the big Netflix noise, or paying Walt Disney £10.99 a month to watch it with adverts now, which is even more bizarre. We could have just went in, as you say, nip into our local Blockbuster, pick up some Ben and Jerry's, a bag of Butterkiss popcorn, pick up your DVD. You don't even have to buy it, you can rent it. You don't even need to buy it. Take it across the road to McDonald's, get a Big Mac, get up the road, watch it. It's a dead art, and I miss it. I'm actually kind of angry you brought this up.
I know
You've stirred something up inside me. You've really upset me here.
I mean, it was just because I was carting these DVDs up, and I know that Ross and I were in the same boat in 2013. We both lost our pre-orders for the Xbox One because we pre-ordered through Blockbuster. We were looked after by Microsoft because they said these consoles do exist, therefore we'll honour the pre-orders. So we got lucky, but it's a bit like what Game was before that. You knew the people in the shop. They knew you were coming in at 5:30 every Friday night. I was rotting up my Fiat Punto, trying to be ready to spend money on absolute nonsense back in the day.
The Fiat Punto.
But that's what it. Oh, I just thought to myself, this would be the type of thing that right now would do so well. And it's funny we're having this conversation because during this move, Nicole's repeatedly said to me, "Why don't you just get rid of the DVDs and the Blu-rays?" And I wasn't a massive collection, but I reckon there's at least 500 there.
Wait, whoa.
It's quite a few.
Pause. I don't have a massive collection of DVDs. There's probably about 500. Whatnot was not your first problem.
It was at least I'll say at least 350. Right? There's at least 350 there. Bear in mind that most of them would have cost about £2 or £3 because they were ex-rentals for Blockbuster where you could buy them after they run them into the ground. But the reason I can't part with it is, as you said rightly, it was probably my first real collecting stuff here. And I stopped buying them about 9-10 years ago, to be fair, when the rise of Cody, originally at the time of how to watch dodgy films on the internet, came about. But
we do not condone.
We do not condone. But the reason I can't get rid of it is that, as you've said, with the amount of different ways to stream now, we're probably only a few years away from physical DVDs and Blu-rays being popular again, because at least you can actually watch a film that you bought 15 years ago.
I think there's
really
that level of resurgence, to be fair, because you can see it. Like, we've done reasonably well, like in terms of like TikTok stuff over the last like couple of weeks, when it's like just me rabbiting on, to use a Scottish phrase, about game collecting. Like, there is a market there for people who are like, no, I want to have a bunch of stuff all lined up and it's mine, and I know that Netflix can't take it away from me, or Game Pass won't just decide to remove it. As someone who also has a Game Pass subscription, but you get what I mean. Like, you can see the appeal. Like, I do know someone who, he has a few thousand DVDs in his loft, but he has them all on a Plex server, so he does the best of both worlds. So he has the full setup in his garage, so he doesn't need to cool it. It just is in a dry enough bit so that it's not going to get ruined by moisture, and then that's what he accesses, but he can access it worldwide. He has his own Netflix. You can understand it when shit gets pulled all the time and licenses get revoked and like games get taken off at like a week's notice.
But it's leaving that, even down to the likes of the music, and some of these can change from the original releases because they can't get the license 10 years later.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Even though it's even though it's not necessarily related to films and movies. But do you remember the year The Undertaker, in his build up to Mania, used the Johnny Cash song?
Yes.
Aye. That's not even in the WWE. That's not even in the home release DVD. They had the license up until Mania for live shows, and that was it. So they had to dub over the gong and that music.
Yeah,
that was obviously at the time. That's different, but that's happening on almost every streaming service now.
It's quite common on things like Netflix. It's mostly for TV shows where they have the rights to the music when they release the show, but they don't have the rights to reuse it. Which is a shame. And this is where I believe there's a gap in the market for this stuff, because we speak off pod quite a lot about games, and we do have a YouTube video about is console gaming dead, so feel free to go and check that out after post pod. But the way consoles are going, they're becoming diskless. They are becoming streaming entities themselves, where you don't necessarily have a disc tray, and that does make it a lot bit cheaper for people. I think that Ross, you mentioned Game Pass, and I think Game Pass Ultimate's like $15.99 a month or something like that, or 12 or 13 or something.
£15 I think for the Game Pass Ultimate, so that's like your PC access as well as your console access.
So if you are going to sit and play 3 or 4 games a month, and that's not big games, that's like some platformers, some quick stuff, that's good value for money, because you're going to get through 4 games. Whereas, see in my opinion, I would rather places like Blockbuster still existed, where I could just go and rent a game and like there's a weekly charge for however long you have it or whatever, and just play it at my leisure, take it back when I'm done. Because I'm not the same as you, Ross. I know that you're into collecting your games, and we have a shelf counter. You can see it in the background of his, just behind his head, a small glimpse of one of his many shelves. But I'm not really into collecting the hard physical copies of games. So if I go and buy a game, thankfully I don't need to do it anymore because my Series S is diskless. But if I bought a game, I would play it and I would finish it and I would enjoy it, and then it would just gather dust until such times as I think, oh, I'll play this for an hour and then not touch it for another 6 months. They just take up space in my place. So I would much prefer that it was, instead of paying £70 for it on release to play it once, I'll spend £15 to keep it for a month and rent it, and then just give it back to Blockbuster. It makes more sense to me, and I really hope you're right, Saunders. I hope there is a resurgence in the market for this, and we do get, I believe, Global Video and our very own Saltcoats is still an empty husk of a shop.
Yep.
So listen, let's just reopen it as TNF, and we'll resurge it ourselves.
I actually know the people who own the
it's all coming together.
I actually do know them.
I think in summary what I'm trying to say is, as much as we go to CX all the time and we do videos in there and you can get good stuff, Blockbuster shits all over CX, and CX could not lace the boots of Blockbuster.
I do not disagree in any way, and Blockbuster doesn't smell, or didn't smell either. It was generally a really nice place to go. I can actually still smell the popcorn when you come in, because you see the popcorn machines next to the tills and stuff like that. I'm really glad that Blind Mates has been a success on week 1. Good luck following it next week.
No.
You're going to have to pick some real nostalgia. Use your own phrase from Saturday Squash. Try and play the men.
Play the men.
And not...
segment.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up the pod and talk about what we've got coming up in terms of content, we are going to start what will be a very long journey to selecting the greatest game of all time. The format we've spoken about ourselves, so I will share it with you all. We are going to run a huge bracket, and we are going to pit so many games head to head, and we're going to start this week with first person shooters. What we're going to do, there will be 8 games in the prelim, 4 matchups, which will finally come down at our final matchup of 2, and that one will progress into the playoff round, where it will face another 16 before we get to our last 16, our last 8, our last 4, and ultimately the 2 games that will go head to head to become TNF's greatest game of all time. The prelims are segmented into game types. It'll be first-person shooters this week. Next week it could be sports, it could be puzzle games, it could be platformers, it could be so many. But we're going to start with probably the most akin to us as a group as first-person shooters. So I have 8 which are going to go into 4 matchups, and I will give you matchup number 1. We're going to have Valorant versus Counter-Strike 2. Ross, you can start.
This one for me is really, really easy. If I was to open Steam, which I can very quickly do that, I think I've got like 5 or 6 hours in Valorant. My main issue with Valorant wasn't actually necessarily gameplay, it's the anti-cheat. For those of you who don't know, a lot of these games have anti-cheat to stop you from, as it suggests, being a cheater and ruin everyone's life. But in the case of this one, this needs like what's called kernel access, i.e. it can do literally anything to your PC if you let it. Most games run a shittier version of anti-cheat, it means they don't have to do that. But yet CS, I have 143 hours in it, and I am utter toilet. But it's better. It's just better. The game like goes back to what? Where was Source or 1.6? Was that the 90s? The lineage of that? Craig would know the answer to that one.
Editor Craig is screaming in the chat right now. He will not forgive us if Valorant wins this, by the way. He will not forgive us. But I agree with you.
I think CS for me.
I've played about 10 hours of Valorant. I mean, it's okay. I don't hate it. But I think I've logged just under 500 hours of CS. Editor Craig is over 1k. I will out him right now. He's past the 1,000 hour mark. I am going to go for CS Counter-Strike 2 as well. And this one, Saunders, I know you've not played Counter-Strike 2. Have you got any experience of Valorant at all?
Very little during COVID. My vote doesn't really matter. Obviously, it's Counter-Strike's going through. I'll just make it. I'll just make it a whitewash and make it 3-zip because.
Whitewash.
And as much as Valorant played okay, I'm with Ross on the anti-cheat system. This is the reason I don't have it on the PC. Is just the fact that you couldn't boot up your PC without it starting. So 3-zip.
Yep. Nice. Let's make it a little bit tougher for matchup number 2. We'll go with Halo Infinite versus Doom, the Dark Ages. I'll start with this one. I love the Halo game series overall. And the reason that we're starting with Infinite is it's likely that all Halo games will likely feature at some point throughout the bracket. For me, Halo Infinite isn't it. It's not the one. It's one of these games where I feel like we've probably kicked the arse out of it maybe one or too many titles. I don't blame them. They're going to make a fortune off it. Like Infinite and Guardians wasn't particularly great in my opinion. So I'm actually going to go with Doom. I like when we create new titles and we make it a prequel. I like that. I like when the new titles don't try and further a story that's already been told multiple times, and they actually just tell you a little bit more about the story that's been told. So yeah, I'm going to give it to Doom, the Dark Ages. Ross, you're nodding.
Interesting. I have seen people play Doom, and I actually thought it looked pretty cool, to be fair. I know that certainly there's been some up and downs for games in that series when they kind of try to revive it, like what was that, 10, 12 years ago? Something like that is when Doom started to have a bit of a resurgence again. I did actually think Halo Infinite was pretty decent, though. My issue with the Halo games is I don't think I was ever any good at that type of shooter. I am right into Gears Reloaded. That only came out as of time of recording yesterday, but well, I'm doing okay at that so far. I think I'm going to go just for the fact that it's from the story franchise. Yes, it's had its ups and downs, and I don't really know what it is they're even doing with it these days. I'm going to go with a Halo Infinite, actually. I think that you can't really go wrong with either of these, but I think the Infinite might just edge out.
Saunders, you have the deciding vote in prelim number 2.
I have never got into the Halo games ever, and I don't know if the reason purely is that I was a PlayStation gamer when they started, and therefore I didn't play 1 and 2, and then I was like, well, couldn't be asked catching up. I did play Infinite. I've played them all, well, most post 360, 360 onwards. At least played them for a little bit. But I'm going to go with Doom, the Dark Ages. But genuinely the reason I'm going with Doom here is that because you said that more than one Halo game will make an appearance, I've got a feeling that.
Oh, there will. I mean, they definitely will.
Aye. So it's not the best Halo game, therefore, though I'm not taking it forward because it's going to get pumped up, but it's one of its adversaries anyway. So, Doom the Dark Ages for me.
I don't hate it. Right, we've got our first match up for the next round. Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield Bad Company 2. Saunders, you can start us off.
Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Oh, I like it. Straight in.
I didn't play Rainbow Six Siege, really, and I played quite a bit of Battlefield Bad Company 2, and I think coming for... I always remember weird because you came for Call of Duty to play that, and I remember being like, this is a bit more mental, but like in a good in a good way. I was like, this is... And they've managed to make it, I don't know, just different. Not better, but different. And primarily with the fact that it was just everybody has 2 guns and a grenade and a smoke or whatever. There was different roles, different ways of playing the game. So, aye, I've got some nostalgia for it. So Battlefield.
Don't hate it.
Too.
I am going to split the deck here and leave it to Ross to pick the winner of this one because I've never been a Battlefield guy. It's just not about me, unfortunately. Having said that, of all the Battlefield titles I've played, Bad Company 2 is considerably the best one out of the ones that I've played, in my opinion. The newer ones are utter chaos, to be honest. There's just like...
The open beta for the new one looks really interesting. That's due out soon.
There's like 1 billion people and the maps are just ginormous. And I don't know, it doesn't suit the way I like to play FPS. It's just not for me. I really like Siege. I prefer the tactical element of Siege. It's not just rush and gun. There's a reserved element to it. I actually really like the mechanics because it was one of the first games I played outside of like Call of Duty and stuff like that where it's not like team deathmatch and things like that. It's specifically bomb, hostage, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rainbow Six really opened my eyes. And Ed Craig and I played a lot of it together for a little bit of time. So yeah, I'm gonna split the deck. I'm gonna go Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm gonna let you have the deciding say on this one.
Well, it's handy because I do have experience of both. I thought Siege was not bad. To be fair, unfortunately, I'm a very simple guy, and generally, if I'm not as good at something, I struggle to get to that level of, oh yeah, this is a good game, but I'm the problem. The game is obviously the problem.
Of course.
I quite liked Siege, to be fair. I thought Siege was like a pretty decent sort of like gateway drug, if you want to call it that, into something that ends up becoming what Counter-Strike 2 kind of is to a set of us here. We will get Saunders to play that at some point once he starts building that office out and he's got like
he will
a nice little stable bit. We'll get him.
We need another Bosch. We need another Bosch.
Yeah, we can actually get a team of 5 on the go. So it's going to have to happen. Played a lot of Bad Company 2 though. Bad Company 2 was probably the first big FPS I've ever played in terms of that one where it wasn't just like a 6v6. And it does actually hold a little bit of a special place in my heart. There was groups of us that would play it. I was never any good at it, right? Because it's a different type of game. You either have to play it really slow or you have to play it.
Every game that's been mentioned, I was never good at it, but...
At least with that one, though, I could find the fun because, you know, there was the element of, oh, well, if I get in a tank and I just hit this shot right, that guy's going to die because the building's going to fall on him. And you just felt fantastic. So for me, I think Bad Company 2 takes it, personally.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think it's a really interesting one. This one for me is probably the... No, it's not the hardest, because I've just remembered what the last matchup is. This is not the hardest one, I promise. The next matchup is Destiny 2 and Time Splitters. That's a throwback. That is a throwback. And I'm happy to let you start.
So, Time Splitters is a franchise that I have never played. I'm familiar with it, it's probably the ones that, as I go and collect more like PS2 games and what have you, I'll probably pick them up and play them at some point. Though, in saying that, the shelf that has the PS2 games on it is absolutely rammed full, and I'm going to have to start shifting Pokemon cards and doing what Craig's been doing with all of his bulk, because I have no space for anything else.
Buy a bigger house.
Destiny 2, I have hundreds of hours in Destiny and Destiny 2. There was something about an FPS MMO that just, at that particular snapshot in time, it just scratched an itch that I didn't really know I had, but it was really good. Now, don't get me wrong, story in the games is not great. Dare say it barely has one. You have to actually go running around to read the descriptions of weapons to get lore. Executions all over the shop. You can see why there's not been another one since the second one.
Yeah, definitely.
However, that being said, I think Destiny 2 takes it.
Okay. Saunders, I feel bad for us, 'cause I think I might know how this ends. You're a PlayStation gamer, so I feel like you might be in the same boat. I am an absolute slut for nostalgia, and Destiny 2 is incredible. I have put a lot of hours into Destiny 2 myself. I really enjoy it. Time Splitters, man. There's just something it tickles me in all the right places, I think. I'm going to go head over heart and say that my heart's telling me Time Splitters because I loved it as a child. I would be scared to play it again because I don't know if I'd like it, and I would hate to have the illusion broken. But for the sake of the bracket, I'm going to pick Time Splitters. I'm going to let Saunders make his final decision. He might not have played either. He might have played more of one, but I'm going to go with Time Splitters.
Destiny 2 was not enough of an upgrade over Destiny. Didn't play enough.
That's a volatile
opinion.
It's a volatile opinion though, because there will be thoughts from other people.
I didn't play a lot of Destiny 2. I played a bit of the first one because a couple of guys that played it, and I did enjoy it. But I just feel as though, I don't know, maybe part of me feels as though it was 5 years too early. Like, I think now, if they rebuilt it properly, it would be a game that we probably would sit and play hours on. Time Splitters was one of the last games I'm sure I got in the PS2 prior to the 360 and making that jump, because I'm sure it was a 2004 or 2005 game. And it's one of the games that I've mentioned multiple, but not mentioned the games available, but I talked about a lot of vlogs where at some point I will rebuild the PS2 collection that was given to a charity shop 15 years ago. So I'm taking Time Splitters, but with the same asterisk that you've put there, Daz, that even if I bought it, I'm not convinced I'd put it back in the disc tray just in case.
Yeah, no,
you can get all three
totally
of them for the PS2, even if I could speak, from CEX for less than £15, £14.
There you go.
So we get you 1, 2, and 3.
There you go. That one might upset some people in the community, but I apologise in advance if I've rattled your cage there. Right, we're on to our second last of these ones, and then we'll go into the nitty gritty and pick a winner. I'm going to pick that. See, this one, I struggle with this one, right? Because it's only going to be one entry for this one, and I'm going to put Apex Legends up against Call of Duty Warzone. Now, that encompasses all of Warzones, so not just the glory that was COVID Warzone. It also includes Blackout and the dross that we get served up currently. I'll kick us off because I think I'll be the only person fighting Apex Legends corner here. And I'm not saying I'm picking Apex Legends. I'll get to that. I really, really enjoy Apex Legends. I think it's got a great mix of all BRs, and BRs are probably the worst thing that could have happened to FPS games. I think that they were great at the beginning, but I think they've just become the fucking microcurrency whoring, spend all your money here for things that look nice and shiny. Eddard Craig and I have a Fortnite wardrobe full of skins and dances and emotes that are worthless, that have cost hundreds if not thousands of pounds. So Apex is excellent in my opinion, but I cannot look past what Warzone, just for COVID, just what it brought. And I'm really interested to see how the next matchups go, because you guys will see, I know what's on the bracket, but I'm going to just pip it with Warzone, because I think that Blackout and the new iterations are god awful. But I think that Verdansk holds such a special place in my heart that it just has to be Warzone for me. Saunders. I'm
starting to get really, really worried that the game I'm waiting for isn't in this bit of the bracket, and if it's not in this bit of the bracket, I'm going to cry. I think I played a bit of another Apex. It wasn't my game, but even if it was, I know in the conversation with you guys, I distinctly remember the day that Boris Johnson sat down in front of the telly and said to everybody, "Don't go to work, stay at home." And the first thing I put in the group chat was, "I've been preparing for this for my entire life." It's like, we as gamers, we are prepared for this our entire lives. It's almost a shame that they got it so right the first time round. And even when they brought Verdansk back, I remember jumping on it and going, "This isn't the same. This just it just isn't the same anymore." And I do agree with you. I feel like I want to give it to Apex purely because they've made such a rip-roaring arse of it in the last 4 years that it should negate that first year, but it really was perfect. And even then, when they opened up the second season and opened the stadium up, it's like they didn't even that. Normally they ruin it. People ruin things by doing too much, but it was just insert the meme, but it was just perfect. And purely for that first 6 months where we just hammered it every day, it's Warzone 1 that takes it for Warzone, just because of how bad the last 4 years have been to follow up.
Fair enough. I mean, we know the outcome of this one now, but Ross, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, if you have anything different to say.
Yeah, I didn't really like Apex, I must admit. I played it a couple of times and it just, I don't know, something about it just immediately rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, nah.
Were you shit at that?
Off.
Were you shit?
I think I was okay, I think, at that one. But there was just something about this kind of weird... It was like a really, really weird fusion, but it felt like to me like something like with like BR fused with like Overwatch. And I know that's not really what it was, but it just felt like that kind of odd sort of juxtaposing mishmashes of styles. It's just yeah, Warzone takes it. Like, we've had some of our best gaming days, afternoons, nights, early mornings on those early
weekends
iterations. Yeah, like we've had a crazy amount of fun on those. Some good games, some bad games, but it was ultimately big groups of us all playing it and just smashing through it. Like, I think that will always have a special place in the heart, even if it's a bit of a shell of what it used to be. But we could go into, are we just different people, and the game itself is actually damn near the same.
No,
those are probably again discussions for different days. But
no,
yeah, I think
I'm not out of touch.
Wins.
The kids are out of touch. Okay, so it's a clean sweep. It's a clean sweep for Warzone, and I'm almost glad that that's happened and we've went down the nostalgia route, because I'm now going to pit Fortnite against PUBG, and I'm really intrigued to see where this goes, because
is this the last? Is this the last matchup?
No, there's one matchup following this. Right. Don't worry, you. I think your game's in this. Don't worry.
Getting better, beat up. I'm not coming back. I go first.
Yeah.
I think I've no wait first for a while. I picked up Fortnite for the first time 3 months ago, and I did really enjoy it. It probably helped that I jumped into a game with you and Craig, and we won the first 2 games I'd ever played on Fortnite, which was really frustrating because we were going to have an entire gaming series of old man plays Fortnite for the first time, and we just couldn't get everybody together to do it. So we just thought, fuck it, let's play a couple of games. It's the worst that can happen, and it turned out it would have been the perfect first video.
Would have been.
But this is a difficult one because I feel as though Fortnite has caused the issues I have with other battle royals, particularly the way Call of Duty is now went. Like, and again, I'll hold my hands up and say, like, when they did the WWE thing, you're like, okay, that's good fun as wrestling fans, but I have to also criticise and say that's not what I want from an FPS, because I can't just pick and choose what skins I like and skins I don't like. I've got to say that if I don't like this idea of stupid skins, I don't like this idea of stupid skins. But I remember PUBG being the first battle royale I ever played, and I remember playing it back when we all paid for it. This was before it was free to play. We paid the $25
It was released as a
beta,
an unfinished product, and they were very clear about that when you bought it.
And I mean, how many times did we go 3 or 4 minutes into a game and just be like, right, everybody back in.
Mm-hmm.
But it also spawned our own group chat meme of jumping through the glass and immediately singing Stone Cold's theme tune. So again, purely on nostalgia, I'm taking PUBG, but I know it's different now.
Yeah, Ross, I'm going to split the deck again, and I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you make the final call on this, right? And I don't envy you because I agree with you, Saunders. PUBG was so special to us as a friend group, right? Because there's so many funny things that have happened in PUBG that we played, and I loved the charm of PUBG that it had all those funny moments, and that it, like, if you were driving a UAZ, the game would just totally dip, and you'd need to close the game, try and reload back in time before you'd driven into the sea and drowned. But I can't look past, from a PUBG perspective, just how bad the actual game was. As much as I enjoyed the charm of it when you're playing in a group, when you're playing a solo and that nonsense is happening, it is not the same charm as when you and all your pals are on the back of the same UAS and everybody's trying to load back in. I think there's a case to be made for Fortnite to be the greatest game of all time. It does have a case for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it myself. It has spawned the birth of microtransactions into the forefront. It has really brought it to the forefront. Mm-hmm. To have such a good game, and I'm talking about, I played it since Season 1. I dipped out for Season 2, come back to kind of mid to end of Season 3, and I played it consistently. It's all the way up to Season X. The first 10 seasons of this game were incredible. Battle Pass mechanics were perfect. It was free to play, which gives it an edge over PUBG in my opinion, because even though they charge you for a Battle Pass, you don't pay for the game itself. I think it's longevity. It's superior. The fact that it is, as far as I'm aware, still the top played BR out of them all. And considering its quality has actually dropped quite considerably, but it's got the creator function now, and there's so many custom-made things. I just can't see past Fortnite, and I think that I mentioned my locker in Fortnite is probably worth more than any other possession that I own in terms of like actual value to collectors. I'm going to have to give it to Fortnite because it just is the best BR in my opinion.
This is a really, 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 really tough one. And I think it's because I kind of have to put a lot of my personal
This is why I wanted you to pick, because you're the gearhead, you're the mechanic man.
You really have to kind of put your personal preferences to one side to an extent. And it's something, as I've said previously, I kind of struggle with it if my personal performance usually dictates how I feel. Both of these games I was mid at. So it's easy enough to kind of put that in the same bucket. When you think about how influential they were, PUBG did come out at that really, really good time. As Saunders said, there's that level of nostalgia, we were all on it. It was an absolute mess. The netcode was written by like a 4-year-old. When, as you said, you were driving the car and it was anyone's guess as to where you ended up at any given moment. They have since fixed that, and I believe they've got like proper destruction like Battlefield now across the buildings and stuff. I don't know if people still play it. I must admit, I'm not sure. But when you're
I think there's a
thinking
hardcore element that still play it, but I don't think it's got a huge player base.
Nah,
there was rumours
there's
about
definitely bots in the game. They've got bots in to fill the lobbies.
There was rumours of them making a sequel and moving to a
I've been
different
intrigued
engine.
by that.
I don't know whatever happened to that. But like that being said, if you're thinking about the games that are the greatest, like it doesn't necessarily have to be purely and simply from a gameplay mechanic. Influence is probably something that we have to take into account here.
Yep.
And you alluded to it earlier on, Saunders, that yes, Fortnite has spawned some serious fucking problems in the industry. Its influence is absolutely everywhere. I distinctly remember not that long ago going off my head because I was killed by a team of Sabrina Carpenters. You know, like that in itself, that's a sentence that 10 years ago, like,
you'd have laughed
what
at.
are you
I
even
know.
talking about? Yeah. So for me, I do think I have to give it, as much as I preferred PUBG, I think I do have to give it to Fortnite just because of the fact that its cultural relevance, like it's in the zeitgeist and it's got its claws in deep.
Yeah.
And you ain't shifting it anytime soon. So I think it has to take
I
that.
agree. Right, this is the hardest matchup of them all. And I am aware of the time that this podcast is running, and this is where we will talk nonsense for a long time. Ross, you can start us. Gears 1 versus Halo 1.
Okay, this one's actually a little bit
It's
easier
easy for
than
you.
for me.
It's easier for you.
I don't know if you...
Yeah, definitely.
So, I was like Saunders that I was a PS2 guy, never really had an Xbox, but when the Xbox 360 came out, PS3 was delayed, it was the logical choice and everyone just kind of moved over. I alluded to it earlier that I was playing Gears Reloaded earlier, and if Gemma was here, she would attest to it. I was losing my mind, but in a good way, because I know that Gears Reloaded is in effect just the Ultimate Edition again, and it's only really there to sell consoles or sell copies for PlayStation, right? Totally, I get that. That game, that original game, has given me some of the best gaming memories I think I've ever had. I distinctly remember going over to a mate's house. He had got the 360 on launch as like a birthday present because his birthday came out, was like a week either side of the release. And he got like a birthday and Christmas present all rolled up into one. And we sat and we played through like all of the campaign across a weekend. I just went into his house on the Friday and I left on the Sunday. And we just sat there. And it was absolutely amazing. And then I eventually got my own. It was the console that I bought a broadband router for, because we still had the Speed Touch USB modems with limited internet. You only had X amount of hours. I used to hide it behind the TV.
Some things never change.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly.
Yep.
Probably not much slower than what I deal with in 2025, but it was the game that made me force my mum and dad to get better internet by basically using up all their hours. I would hide the router behind the TV and I would sit and just, I'm playing bots, but I was playing online.
Let's see if Gears Reloaded can be the one that makes you force Virgin to actually install better internet at your property.
Oh, well, talk on that in the future. That might be a segment in the live bit, hopefully in a few weeks. But that first one to me is just special. It's Gears 1.
I think we know you.
It's Gears 1 every
didn't
day
even
of
have
the
to
week.
ask you.
As much as Halo 1's good. Halo 1's a great entrance to the Halo series. But it's just not Gears 1.
I feel like we know the outcome of this one because Saunders mentioned he didn't play Halo 1. Would I be correct to assume that you're going to pick Gears?
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that either one of them are like, this is my favourite game of all time, but I'm taking Gears because obviously, again, I've played the Halo games. The Halo 1 isn't my favourite Halo, but I just don't. I think it's because anything for back then, I've got to feel a nostalgia for it, and I just don't for Halo. For Gears, there's a little bit. So I'm taking Gears.
It is a clean sweep for Gears of War 1. I love Halo 1. It's not my favourite Halo game. I love Halo 1. However, I agree with Ross. I think that Halo 1 came out at a time where it was original Xbox and it was slightly different. Gears 1 came out at a really important time in console gaming where the new brand of console had launched, and it was a flagship title, and they really, really, really made a good job of it. So I'm going to give it to Gears 1. I'm really intrigued by this next one because I feel like we could spend an hour talking about it on its own. So I don't know whether to limit everyone to 60 seconds each and make them squirm over the hardest pick, because the next round is time limited, where we've had our say on all these games. We're now just going to pit them head to head and pick one. Your last matchup is Call of Duty World at War versus Call of Duty 4. We'll start with Saunders.
It's Call of Duty 4 and it's not even fucking close. That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Right, okay. I mean, okay.
That's it. It's the only reason I play first person shooters is that game. So
that's reason enough, to be fair. That is reason enough.
Aye, that's it.
Ross?
I really, really loved a pair of these. COD World at War was like one of those games where it felt like to me it was the first FPS I played where it was genuinely like tough. I felt like the online was quite punishing on that at some points. Obviously, it had the Call of Duty thing where certain guns were just OP. That's stupid.
Yes, it sure did.
The German SMG thing was just feckin' annoying to play against. But for me, COD 4 takes it as well, but not necessarily purely from a gaming perspective as much as it probably is the better game. It's the memories. Like, this was pre-Xbox party chat. And
game chat.
Everyone would just all go into game chat. And you would, if there was only 4 of you, it was just you were going to be in with 2 people that you didn't know against a team of 6 you didn't. And just the nonsense that would ensue. None of the things that you could repeat in 2025 because we'd all lose our jobs and probably be put in prison. But generally... Speak
for yourself.
Go say it.
What a game. And Call of Duty will never get back to those glory days unless they just give us it again. I'll live on it again. But yeah, COD 4. 100%.
And I'm sad to see these two go head to head, but Call of Duty had some really good titles over like an 8-year period, so some of them have to face off because otherwise all of the FPS ones are just going to be won by Call of Duty titles. So I swaddled on this because Call of Duty 4 is the first proper Call of Duty online that I played, and I would probably argue it's the one I'm best at as well. Editor Craig and I sunk a ridiculous amount of time into the remaster of it when it came out. I think World at War might still have the greatest campaign to date of any first-person shooter. I think its campaign was way ahead of its time upon release. But I'm going to go with the influence, and I feel like, again, COD 4 came out around about that same time as Gears 1. It was so influential in the pushing the 360 and the next generation of online gaming, and it birthed a whole bunch of us who now hate modern Call of Duty because of shit like Omni Movement, but it made them an established, because obviously there was 3 Call of Duty games or something prior to 4, obviously, that never made it onto the big console. So for me it's a really tough one, but I'm going to give it to COD 4 for the impact that it had. So here's the tricky part. We need to whittle those games down to one. We'll start very quickly with back to our first one, Doom the Dark Ages versus Counter-Strike 2. I'll kick us off. I'm going to go Counter-Strike 2.
I think that's fair. I think CS2 is just one of those games, isn't it? It's eternal.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I've not played it, I'd get to Counter-Strike as well for the cultural influence it has.
I like that. I do. I like that. So CS moves into the semis. Battlefield Bad Company 2 versus Time Splitters. Ross?
Bad Company 2
I think I know the answer
for me, but that's
Time
nice and easy.
Splitters. Yeah. Saunders?
I'm also going to go Bad Company 2.
I'm going to go Time Splitters just because I wasn't a Battlefield guy, but I will accept defeat. We're into the 2 tricky ones now. And Warzone versus Fortnite. I will start. I'm giving it to Fortnite, man. it's untouchable in my opinion in the realms of battle royals, which makes the next round of this prelim so interesting. But I'm giving it to Fortnite. Ross.
Yeah, it probably does have to go to Fortnite, doesn't it? I don't think it's necessarily a better game than those early iterations, but yeah, I think for me, it probably just has to sneak it. It's tough though. I don't think that's an easy one.
That is a tough one. Saunders, would you have gone another way?
It was not a clean sweep. I'd have been going Warzone.
Oh, I like that. I do. I like that shout. Another tough one. Gears 1 or COD 4.
Christ, it's like, which child do you shoot?
Second.
I know the answer. Yeah. Wait, are you saying that you're going to pick Gears 1, Saunders?
No, fuck.
Oh, right, well, okay, so now we know what Saunders is picking.
COD 4, it's, I mean, even we focus so much on the online player, but I actually completely forgot about All Gillied Up, which is my favourite mission of all time, so COD 4.
Okay. Ross, are you going to split the deck, or are we going to go for 4 clean sweeps in this round? Look, I'm squirming. It's two of his favourite games.
Probably put more into COD 4. I say probably. I'm pretty sure I've got something like 25 days played or something in COD 4, so I can't really give it to Gears as much as I actually think Gears might be just slightly better game because it's ever so slightly more technical and tactical, but screw it. I know where you're going to go. I'll go Gears 1 and split the deck.
Yeah, I'm so sad because Gears 1 was such an important game. It was the first like proper gory game I ever played where he chainsawed people in half and I just thought it was cool as fuck. But man, I've got about 50 days in COD 4. It's just going to have to be COD 4. Which takes us to two very, very interesting semi-finals. Counter-Strike 2 versus Battlefield Bad Company 2.
I'll go first.
Oh, no, sorry.
I was going to say I'll go first.
Yeah.
It should be Counter-Strike, but I will have to pick Battlefield just based on the fact that I have played it and I enjoyed it, and I've not played Counter-Strike 2. But I'm pretty sure I know it's going to go the other way. But
I see, to be honest, this is a really tricky one for me, right? Because as much as I don't necessarily like the Battlefield games, Counter-Strike 2, from my understanding, certainly is not the best iteration of Counter-Strike.
Yeah, Go is,
Craig's
I think,
a big fan of Go. Even like 1.6 and stuff like that is really well regarded, even if it was at times ass. This is a really tricky one. If I put my outsider hat on, I'm going to pick Counter-Strike 2 because I have 500 hours almost on it and I enjoy it. I hate it at times as well because it's just laden with cheaters and it is really tricky. And I think if you're probably looking for the overall gaming experience, Battlefield 2 probably would be a preferable choice for people. But I'm going to give it to Counter-Strike purely because Ed or Craig won't ever talk to me again if I don't. But it'll be really interesting for me what wins this one because there's a few really good games left in here. So I'm going to give it Counter-Strike. Ross?
I think that's a clean sweep. I think that you do make some valid arguments against it, but yeah.
Can I be a clean sweep because it's 1-1 just now?
He did pick Battlefield, so it's not a clean sweep.
Well,
but I now believe that
it's been a long day. But yeah, it
has been. Right. Fortnite versus COD 4. Saunders.
COD 4.
Okay, thanks for your input. Ross, I'm going to let you have the deciding say on this, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to give it to Fortnite. And that, to be honest, I'm a little bit shocked at myself for that, right? I have played countless amount of days on both of these games. And I enjoyed Season 1 to Season 10 of Fortnite just as much, if not more, than I enjoyed the online in COD 4. But I've tailored away from both game franchises now as a result of what they have both become. I think if I take the games in isolation, I have to give it to Fortnite. I think if I just look at them objectively, and I'm giving it to Fortnite. Unfortunately, you get the really tough decision of picking what faces CS2 in the final, but
Yes, it's a good one, man. For me, I think this bracket's actually been going nice and sensibly. I think throughout it, as much as I've been honest, I'll agree with absolutely everything. Like I
There's a
think that
couple that are
there's some
chaotic
good,
that I have in the bank,
couple of
but there's some
chaotic, there's
really
some good
chaotic.
logic across the board. I think that everyone that we know that plays FPSs does clamour for COD 4. I even remember our school, we all went to the same school, admittedly not in the same year group, had a sponsored walk
He's
every
older.
year.
Yeah.
But we always used to go do the sponsored walk, and the whole thing was you get to go home after it. And I remember inviting one of my mates over because we got in about 1 o'clock, and Call of Duty 4 had a beta weekend that weekend.
Yeah.
And the only map was vacant, and the only mode was TDM. We sat there for 7 hours playing the same map and the same game mode for a game that wasn't even out yet. It's culturally the most relevant FPS, I think, ever. Because it just brought everything into a new dawn. You can play like Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3, right? Go play them online, because people still play COD 3 online on 360. It is night and day. COD 4, I am sorry to say, does
I
edge it.
don't hate. I love both games, and I'm now in an even harder spot going into the final because I feel like if it was CS versus Fortnite, I think it's easier in my heart to pick a winner than it will be now because both of these games are like, I don't hate it. I will say I'm surprised that Fortnite has been eliminated in a prelim. I thought it would have made
Mad, isn't
it would have made the big bracket, but them's the breaks. Right. CS2 versus COD 4. Saunders, I don't really feel like I need to ask the question.
Strap that rocket ship to COD 4's back and fire it to the fucking moon.
Yeah, and listen, I think I know the outcome of this battle based on what Ross just said as well. I think I know who he's going to pick, and I'm not going to disagree. I think I'm going to give it to COD 4 as well. I think I'd have been more inclined to give it to CS over Fortnite for playability now, because like CS2 is like a 12, 13-year-old game now. It's been out for a long time, and it's still really playable.
A hot minute.
Yeah, it's still really playable, whereas I feel like Fortnite isn't. But if I could load up COD 4 and get a lobby, I would much rather play that than play CS online, if I'm being really honest, because CS is so toxic. It looks like we have the winner of Prelim 1. I'm not shocked knowing the audience that I have in front of me right now. But there's some really good matchups and some big games eliminated. And Prelim 1, we have lost Warzone, Fortnite, Gears 1, Halo 1. Some big names have dipped out of the bracket already. So Quad 4 is the first to make it to the playoff round. More coming next week. And next week's bracket will be slightly different. Next week's bracket will all be sports games. So I'm really intrigued to see how that looks. It's probably more dubiety across what your favourite is in sports games. So just wrapping up the pod, because it has been a long one for the flagship episode. What have we got coming out content-wise over the next week?
Tuesday's going to be, it was going to be a vlog, but it's pivoted slightly, so it's going to be what I'm collecting and why. But it's starting off with the vlog because I went out Monday to film because I had the English bank holiday, and a little bit like the apathy that we displayed earlier for the TCG at the moment, I just could not be fucked. And part of that is because I am sitting here in a mess of a room that needs painted before I start unpacking properly. And I just thought, what am I doing out here buying? No, I did still buy 3 games for the PS1. But
spoiler.
That's what's coming there. And then I'm going to imagine that the following Tuesday is going to be some sort of output from our trip to the newly expanded, bigger and better, greatest shop in the world, Forgotten Worlds, tomorrow night.
Yes.
Which, I don't know if you know this, Darren, but one of the big players in the sort of retro gaming space, Retro Ghetto.
Yeah, I seen that he was there. Yeah.
Yeah, beat us to it, flew up and was there on opening day. Can't believe the guy lives in the Midlands and somehow beat us to version 3, I think they're calling it. Forgotten Worlds.
Yeah,
very
Forgotten
jealous.
Worlds 3. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled next week for some vlog content. Saunders is going to be focusing on what he's collecting. This has been a really fun episode of TNF Talks for me. I really, really enjoyed the bracket. Getting to know more about Gamescom. Let us know your thoughts on... I've got a feeling there will be some heat for some of the choices throughout the bracket selections, but I also think that people will want to have their say on Pokemon, the trading card games, and also the Gamescom announcements. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought. Every Friday we will be dropping TNF Talks, so until next week, peace.
See you later.